Hey everyone, this is Heidi Whitehair, your CEO, and I wanted to come to you with a very special guest, actually, a very special guest that's going to talk to you and share with you all about our incredible patches. As you all know, we've launched almost 2 weeks ago with a total of 5 patches now. So I'm going to bring her on the line, but I first want to give her just incredible kudos for helping us just create what I think is redefining how we take nutrition, how our bodies absorb nutrition, and as you all know, we have, since our launch, which I guess we're at about day 11, day 12 maybe, we are literally breaking records. So super exciting, but we're all about education. We're all about giving you guys some information, some knowledge to go out and share in the marketplace. So with that, I'm going to introduce Kristlyn. Her and I started working together a couple months ago. I guess it would be in January. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun. And she is our she's my expert for sure. She's my go-to. She knows everything all about the patches. Her history is incredible in health and wellness, and then of course with working with the patches. And she is our representative for the manufacturer. So with that, Kristlyn, I'm going to ask you to join us and maybe just share a little bit about your background so everyone knows how knowledgeable you are and why they want to listen to you.
Well, Heidi, thank you. Thank you for letting me join you guys, and thank you for all those kudos. It's exciting for me because these patches, and I will say this, and you've heard me say this before, when I was introduced to these patches, I immediately said, wow, if these things work, this is going to be like digital music back when we were listening to 8 tracks. And sure enough, they work, and they work in a big way. And I'm so excited to be working with your organization because there is nothing that my heart would love more than to see everybody in the whole world with these patches on, just because I've seen the profound effects that they have. I see what they have done for people. I've seen the changes that they've made in people's lives and their blood work and how they feel on a daily basis. And I mean, and let's really state it. How you feel on a daily basis is everything. So once you know that, you want to get it out to everybody. I've spent the last 16 years specifically working in the natural health and wellness industry. You know, I do have a bachelor's degree and worked for a while after college in another industry, but really found my passion came in natural health and wellness. And when I moved over to the natural health and wellness space, I started working with large groups of natural practitioners, naturopathic physicians and homeopathic physicians, and then it just went on to OBGYNs and MDs and doctors that specialize in everything across the board. And what I realized very quickly was that food and supplementation was critical to our everyday health and wellness. In many ways, far more important than any medication or surgery or anything else that you could have. So I love this industry because it helps people not only to feel better every day, but to really live a long, happy, healthy life, which for me is the goal. So 16 years ago when I started working with these naturopathic physicians, one of them and I created an all-natural weight loss program. And it was then sold on to a nutraceutical company, one of the largest nutraceutical companies here in the United States, that sells directly to doctors, to physicians, and then the physicians sell on to their patients. And they picked up our weight loss program, and I had the unique opportunity to start coaching not only doctors across the country, but also their groups of patients that wanted to lose some weight naturally, maybe try to minimize some of their medications just to feel better and have more energy on a daily basis. And it was such an eye-opening experience, not just from a standpoint of how people think and the psychology behind the choices they make every day, but I was seeing them take some of the highest quality supplementation on the planet and still not get the results that we would have expected. They were having all kinds of compliance issues because they had to swallow things and they had to drink things and they had to eat things that they really didn't like the taste of. And then there would be the burping back up, and there would be the stomach ache for some of them, the headache for others. And it was sort of disheartening. We wanted them to get the greatest results possible, but they were struggling so much in many cases with the supplementation that compliance went down, and they really weren't following the program as they should. That's why when I said earlier, wow, when I was introduced to these patches, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, my mind just started racing, and I started thinking, my gosh, this takes away every compliance issue with every client I've ever worked with every doctor that I've ever worked with. It just takes it all away. And the absorption rate is so much greater because now we're bypassing that digestive tract completely, right? And we're going just directly into the bloodstream with these things. So it was really exciting to move about 5-6 years ago into working and coaching people, but now being able to bring the patches in instead of the other forms of supplementation, and seeing all the amazing things that the patches could do, that the pills, the powders, the capsules, the bars, the shakes, all that other stuff, it couldn't hold a candle to what I could do now with the patches and the profound effect that I could have on people. So that's just a little tidbit on my background and kind of why I'm so excited and so passionate about these patches.
Well, as like with you, I have had many years, 22 years of health and wellness, and when I got into the industry, liquid was the big deal. Liquid was what was most absorbable. And so a lot of people understand pills, powders, and liquids. And so for them to kind of make this leap to the patches, you did a little bit there, but can you talk a little bit about what makes these patches so different and why the absorption of these patches is going to be far and above greater than anything that they can put sublingually?
Absolutely. Listen, in a perfect scenario, we could eat very nutritionally dense foods and take nutritionally dense supplementation, and everything would work well in the digestive tract. But there are a lot of barriers to entry for the digestive tract, period, because, it's got to work to keep out bacteria, it's got to work to keep out harmful things that would or could, hurt our bodies. The problem, though, today is that our digestive tracts are so dramatically compromised, so much more than they were, 25, 50 years ago. It's just really even 10 years ago. All of the artificial ingredients, the man-made chemicals that are in our foods today, it's just an unbelievable onslaught to our digestive tract. And it's created a scenario where the digestive tract really struggles to absorb anything. In many cases, people will have pills leaving the body the same way they're going in. So then you say, okay, well, what about liquids? Well, a lot of these chemicals and a lot of the things that you find in these artificial ingredients will actually almost tan the internal lining of the stomach. And when I say tan, I mean like tanning leather. Like tannins, like you would take some leather and tan that leather so it has a barrier. Well, that actually happens to the inside of the stomach and the intestines. It really makes it very, very difficult for nutrients to absorb the way that they should. So you take a system that already has a lot of barriers to entry, and then now with all the man-made chemicals and the artificial ingredients, you've lessened the absorption rate so dramatically that in many cases, even when we're eating highly nutritionally dense food, we're still not getting all that we need. So supplementation is a must, and we're not outside. We're not in the soil like we used to be. We're not getting those micronutrients. We're not in the sun like we used to be. It's just so critical that we take in supplementation. But if you're going to spend money on supplementation and it's going to leave your body the same way it went in, or you're only going to absorb a fraction of it due to multiple reasons, it doesn't really do us a lot of good. And I think I was sharing with you not too long ago about some research that I did on the scenario, the perfect scenario for the gut when it comes to absorption of vitamins, minerals, and herbs, right? They're all different. Sometimes your stomach needs food in there for a specific ingredient to absorb. Sometimes the stomach needs to be completely empty for the ingredients to absorb. Sometimes there needs to be fat present. Sometimes there needs to be protein present. And other times, if fat or protein are present, it won't absorb at all. So you take our formulations or anybody's formulations that have multiple ingredients, how can you possibly create the perfect scenario in the stomach, in the digestive tract, for all of those individual ingredients to absorb properly? It's impossible. You cannot do it. So what I love about the patch, and I kind of try to paint this picture for people, is the patch in many ways is like getting a shot. You know, when you get really sick and you need to go to the doctor, you get a shot. Whether that's an IV because you're severely dehydrated and you need to get those ingredients into the bloodstream quicker, this is what the patch is like. It's like a shot but without the needle. So it's the best of both worlds. It's going directly through the skin, which is the largest organ on our body, and it's going directly into our system, into our bloodstream. And the great thing about the patch is that it is time released. So it's not all just hitting you at once. It is going in via the reservoirs in the patch that are opening up based on the body's heat and metabolism. And those active ingredients are being time released into the system. So the first reservoir is probably going to open up within 10 to 15 minutes of first putting the patch on, once again, based on the body's heat and metabolism. And then the next reservoir is going to open up approximately 3 to 3.5 hours later. So you're not getting the onslaught of everything at once. You're getting it time released over the day with all the active ingredient being into the body within about 6 to 8 hours. And now that does not mean 100% absorption. You know, nobody really ever wants to say 100% absorption. But the studies that have been done, Heidi, and that I have read and that I try to keep up on every day will tell you that when you consume something orally, you maybe, if you are lucky, get between 5 and 15%. And 15% is almost unheard of. Most of the time it's more like 2%, 3%, 6% of the nutrients are actually being absorbed. With the patch, much greater. We're talking 60, 70 plus % is being absorbed into the system because it just doesn't have the barriers to entry. It can go directly into the bloodstream. Because of this, we're able to help people minimize deficiencies that they couldn't when they were taking oral supplementation or liquid supplementation or sublingual supplementation. It just doesn't work the same as a patch that can take the active ingredients through the skin and directly into your body's own system. So, you're really bypassing a tremendous amount of work and tremendous amount of barriers so we can get those all-natural ingredients in, and then the body can use them and do what it needs to do, really helping to minimize deficiencies on a much greater level.
My gosh, I'm such a product geek that I love all of this, and it's just so exciting to be on the forefront of the future of nutrition, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of craziness going on in our world right now. We know about that. Me being the wife of a first responder, Ken's been a first responder for 31 years. He's actually at the station today. When he puts his patches on himself in the morning, I feel like there's like a protective armor that he's putting on before he goes out the door. And I think that is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give to anyone that you love and care about. Will you talk for a minute about kids? And one of the things that we've seen a huge difference in, obviously, not only with kids, but maybe ones that have sensory disorders where they can't, drink something, eat something, take a capsule, that kind of thing. We have one of our promoters her daughter is autistic. Huge, huge results with people like that. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. Now, all of our products are designed, all of our formulations currently, and clearly more to come, right? More formulations to come. But all of the formulations that you guys are currently working with are created for ages 12 and above, right? They're created and designed with the idea of a person 12 years old and above for the patch. Now, that does not mean that somebody younger than the age of 12 couldn't potentially use the product. I have a 10-year-old son. Clearly, I've been dealing with these patches for over 5 years now, almost 6 years, and he has been wearing them What I do with them is I cut them in half or in quarter. And that's the amazing thing. Let's talk about that for a minute, not just for kiddos, because it's a tremendous benefit for kids. But let's think about this. I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a small person and very sensitive when it comes to supplementation or any kind of, caffeine or anything. And I love the fact that when I want to try a new formulation, I can put that on. And clearly putting it where you have a nice big warm muscle is important because it's our body's heat and metabolism that opens up those reservoirs. So placement is critical when it comes to absorption. But I can put one of those on and I can say, you know what? If I'm not 100% sure that a whole patch is going to work well for me, I can cut that thing in half right on the paper and I can stick a half a patch on and see how that does. And if 20 minutes, 30 minutes later I'm still feeling pretty good, I can stick the other half on. Now, what happens if I stick one on and I say, wow, this is a little too much for me. I don't know that I like this feeling. Well, unlike something that I would have swallowed that maybe would have upset me or imbalanced my system, I can't, if I've swallowed it, there's not much I can do. We all know the route, right? And that's not a pleasant one. With the patch, I peel it off my shoulder. I peel it off the side of my arm. I take it off and I say, okay, I'm going to give this a few minutes. And always, every time, within 3 to 4 or 5 minutes max, you feel fine. You cannot do that with something liquid. And that same thing goes with a kiddo. When we're dealing with our kids, whether they're autistic or not, it's difficult to get them to swallow things. My son has been raised in a very all-natural home where we didn't have a lot of artificial ingredients. But there was times that I had to give him some ibuprofen. And, what I was so amazed by was that he hated, literally hated, Heidi, the taste of that artificial sweetened, syrup because he hadn't been around all that junk his whole life. And I wished beyond wish that I had something topical that I could have put on him rather than making him swallow that junk. In comes the patches. Now I can do his multivitamin with omega-3 right on the shoulder. Now there's not swallowing any fish oil. There isn't a kid or an adult alive that really can say, oh, I just love taking my fish oil on the spoon every day, right? Now that fish oil, we use krill oil for your formulations, which is the most bioavailable omega-3 on the planet, and sustainable, the most sustainable as well. Now it's going directly in the bloodstream. You never taste it. So for kids or adults, that's a phenomenal thing. But when kids get to feeling bad, in many cases, it's because their blood sugar becomes unstable. Maybe they've eaten too many carbs. Maybe they had too much sugar. Maybe they're feeling a little nauseous. Maybe their poor little liver is a little clogged up. Using these patches and just being able to place it on the back of the shoulder, the side of the arm, and giving them 10 or 15 minutes to start feeling better and having that help to balance their body, it is tremendous. Because when they're not feeling well, the last thing they want to do is swallow something again. And anybody that's listening to this that has kiddos, we all know what happens when your kiddo is feeling sick and you ask them to swallow something, it comes right back up. So in this scenario, you don't have to ask them to swallow anything. You stick this on their little shoulder, little side of their arm, and now they're feeling better within 10 to 15 minutes. And I have to tell you, it does the same thing for adults. People feel this product, and you can probably attest to that. You feel this product. When you put it on, you actually feel it working.
I grew up with a mom that would never swallow anything. In fact, if she were to take a pain reliever, it was always aspirin, and she'd put sugar, no lie, on the spoon with the aspirin that she would melt, and that's how she would take it. So I grew up in a household where, sugar was plentiful. We took medications like it was no big deal. And, I got introduced to health and wellness when my youngest was 5 months old. So my kids have pretty much grown up like that as well. And ibuprofen, things like that are just very, very, very rarely used. But you're exactly right. And even with adults, they don't want to swallow stuff that doesn't taste good. And so my children are now adults, and they all are more than willing to slap a patch on, but not willing to drink anything they don't want to drink. And I remember there was a product years ago that I used to take, and it was to boost the immune system. And as you know, we just came out with our immune patch. But every time I'd even open the bottle of this product, no kidding, I would clear the house. People would be like, oh my gosh, Mom just opened that stuff. And it's like this patch is just magical because you literally slap on the patch and you're good to go, and your body's going to feel the effects of it, and the absorption is amazing. So that leads me to, as you know, we have launched this last 10, 11 days, whatever it is, with 5 patches. Would you chat for a minute about each one of these patches and what you think of them and kind of the benefits?
Absolutely. And, just to digress just slightly, when you're talking about, opening up a bottle of, right, whether it's pills or liquids, in my opinion, almost being the worst when it comes to having to travel. I know that I drive around and go on appointments during the day. I love to travel with my family. I travel a lot for business. And taking your supplements with you, it's funny, everybody laughs at me because there is nowhere that I go that I don't have a large snack bag with me. I always have a snack bag with me, always. And I always laugh and say if we're ever stuck on an elevator or stuck on a plane, I'm always the person you want to be sitting by because I've got all the goods right there next to me in my snack bag. What I always hated doing, because I've, back in the day, right, I tried the liquid drinks and stuff as well, the liquid vitamins, and heaven forbid that stuff spills. Heaven forbid that stuff leaks when you're up in the airplane. It's just not as convenient. You got to keep everything cold, right? The fish oil, gotta love that. I got that in my hair one time, and that was a wonderful experience. It's just not something that is easily drug around to different places or taken to work or taken to an appointment or to travel with. These patches, oh my gosh, I can, they're so thin and light and tiny. I can stick them in my bag and there's nothing to worry about. So just as a side note there, from a travel and handle standpoint, these things are the bomb. But let's go into this because the immune boost patch is phenomenal. One of the things that we kept in mind, because there are some ingredients that, although are amazing, absolutely amazing for the immune system, are not working well with our new crazy virus that's out there running around, right? There's some ingredients like elderberry that could actually, cause some issues. So we kept that in mind when we were formulating this immune boost patch, and we kept any ingredient out of the formulation that could, in fact, have a negative bearing on the new virus that's currently out. And we focused on ingredients that were just going to do a phenomenal job of boosting the immune system. Because at the end of the day, our bodies are designed to heal itself of anything, literally anything. Our bodies can heal itself of anything. But 2 things have to go on. One, you have to remove the negative ingredients that are going in, and you have to give the body what it needs. It's just like making a batch of cookies. If I say, Heidi, we're going to make chocolate chip cookies today, but we don't have any chocolate chips, we don't have any butter, and we don't have any sugar. But here's the ingredients we do have. You see these over here? You're going to say, well, that's nice, Crystal, and that's nice that we have those other ingredients. But without the chocolate chips, the butter, and the sugar, I'm not so sure that this is going to come out all that well. Well, same thing for your body. If you are lacking something, if you have a deficiency somewhere, and you are not giving your body what it needs, there is no way that it can function properly. So our immune system can fight off anything, can heal itself of anything. We just have to give it the proper ingredients. And we've done that in a very therapeutic dose. And what do I mean when I say therapeutic dose? Well, let's go back for a minute to the nutraceutical versus pharmaceutical. Nutraceutical companies work with 100% all-natural ingredients. 100% all-natural ingredients. Most of the time in the methylated versions, and the methylated versions are the ones that your body can absorb and assimilate the best. And the nutraceutical companies will take these ingredients and they will create very therapeutic doses. So a high enough dose that it can have a profound effect on the body. Not just a pixie dust sprinkling. That doesn't work. You know, there's lots of products on the market with pixie dust sprinkling of this or that. That's not going to work. If I put 2 grains of sugar into the chocolate chip recipe, that's still not going to work, right? We need the cup or whatever it calls for. We need that to create the experience that we want. So when we're talking about our body and making sure that we're giving it the nutrients and the ingredients that it needs to have profound effects and profound change to our health and wellness, it has to be a therapeutic dose. So all of the formulations that your group has have a very high therapeutic dose that can create profound changes, have profound effects in a positive direction. It's all 100% natural because we have nutraceutical grade, all natural ingredients. Now, pharmaceutical grade, on the other hand, most vitamins that are on the market today, 98% of all vitamins that are on the market today, even vitamins that are, sold by companies that have the words nature, etc. in their name, are synthetic. And synthetic vitamins can have a very detrimental effect on the body. And there is research after research after research that proves that without question or doubt. Now, unfortunately, the media and most practitioners, most of the world does not understand the difference between a synthetic vitamin and an all-natural vitamin. So let me just real quickly give you one example. Vitamin B12. Unbelievable what vitamin B12 does in the body. Somebody could spend their life researching all the things that vitamin B12 does within the body, the profound effects that it has, the systems that it can impact. And I will tell you that if you are taking a B12 supplement that is from a synthetic version, the name on the bottle will be cyanocobalamin. It actually starts with a C. That is the synthetic version, and it comes from cyanide. Then the liver has to process all that out. It can have a very detrimental effect on the body. The version within your formulations is methylcobalamin. Methylcobalamin is the all-natural version of B12, and the body can see it and knows what to do with it. Because when you stick a synthetic in the body, a synthetic ingredient in the body is designed to see things clumped up, as in, okay, here's the vitamin, but that vitamin, that B12, is supposed to have enzymes and proteins and different things attached to it so the body can recognize it. So the body can say, oh, yeah, okay, I see that. I see what if we just zoomed in on somebody's ear and said, who is this person in your life, how do you know? You need to see the rest of the face. The body is exactly the same way. It needs to see the whole molecule, everything that needs to be included for it to recognize it and say, I know exactly what to do with this. I'm going to take it, I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to help get you healthy. When a synthetic comes in, it doesn't have any of those other things attached to it, so the body can't recognize it. It doesn't know what to do with it. And so most of the time, the body will just push that ingredient into the adipose tissue. Yes, increasing your fat storage, because it doesn't recognize that ingredient. It doesn't know what to do with it. It sees it as a foreign object, which is kind of a blessing, because in many of the studies that I've read, these synthetic vitamins can really increase the negative health issues that we have. So let's hope that it's putting it into the adipose tissue, right? But that just increases then your fat storage. So we really want to stay away from pharmaceutical, synthetic type products and focus on the all-natural that our body can recognize, can see, and can use. So, of course, our Immune Boost product has amazing ingredients, all-natural ingredients that have been proven for thousands of years to have a profound effect on the body's immune system, to boost the immune system, to make each cell ready and able to fight off anything that comes your way. And that's truly what it's all about. We boost the immune system, we give the body what it needs, and when those viruses, when those bacteria, when those bugs come at us, your body does what it does, and you don't get sick. And that's where we want to be with it. So that Immune Boost, huge. Now, I don't know if you have any other questions about that before I move on to the next formulation, so I'll give you a second here.
No, I think that was awesome. Every time I talk to you, I learn something. So keep at it.
Keep at it. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is my favorite, which is the complete multi with omega-3. Here's something that I want to help everybody understand about omega-3. Omega-3 is an essential fatty acid. Now, everybody needs to look at the definition of essential, because essential means it is critical to life. Our nation is so dramatically devoid of omega-3s, and it is the base, in my opinion, of so many health issues, so many of the health crises that we are having in our country. Omega-3 is essential to the body, and I'm going to tell you one of the reasons, just one of the reasons why it's essential to the body. So if you're sitting somewhere and you're listening to this, you probably have something to drink next to you. I have my jasmine green tea sitting next to me. I want you to look at the top of the cup that's sitting next to you, because probably most everybody either has one sitting there or they can imagine it. And imagine the external ring of that cup is the external ring of your cell. And you've got trillions and trillions and trillions of cells in your body. The external wall of that cell has got to stay soft and pliable for nutrients to be able to get in and for waste to be able to be expelled out. If that cell wall becomes hard and rigid, nutrients cannot get in and waste cannot get out. It's as simple as that. If nutrients cannot make its way into that cell, or if the waste cannot get out of the cell, that cell is going to wither and die, period. That is why we age. That is why our hearing diminishes. That is why our eyesight diminishes. That is why we get gray hair. That is why every system in our body begins to diminish, is because we overload ourselves with hydrogenated oils, partially and fully hydrogenated oils. We overload ourselves with so much omega-6 instead of omega-3, and the cell wall begins to harden. So at that point, no matter how much nutrients you take in, no matter how much omega-3 you take in, those hydrogenated oils are going to block all of the nutrients from being able to get into and feed the cell. It is going to block the waste from being able to get out of the cell. And you could eat the healthiest food on the planet at that point, but if you're taking in a bunch of hydrogenated oils that are hardening up those cell walls, or you're not taking in any omega-3s to keep the cell wall nice and soft and pliable, you're wasting your money on anything good and nutritious that you put in your body, because it cannot feed the cells. Omega-3 is critical to every cell in your body. It is critical to neurotransmitter health. Your neurotransmitters is that whole wiring system in your brain that makes us feel happy, that brings us joy, that brings us passion, that gets us excited, that gets us up and off the couch and moving, that makes us go, wow, I am happy to be alive today. I am grateful for everything that I have. You know, we have astronomical rates of depression. We have astronomical rates of low testosterone and astronomical rates of deficiencies and vitamin D and vitamin B and iron and all these issues that we've got going on in our country. People taking antidepressant medication and just suffering every day. Omega-3, it's critical to every cell in your body. You know, women that suffer with difficult, painful menstrual cycles, that is an omega-3 deficiency. Okay, there's some hormone imbalance too, and that's a whole other topic for another time that we'll get into, I'm sure. But omega-3 can dramatically diminish painful menstrual cycles, can dramatically get rid of, painful joints, inflammation, depression. It's critical. It's essential to our life. So when we can provide you with a complete multi that has vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that your body desperately needs, and they're all in the all-natural state, methylated versions that your body can take in and recognize and use, and then on top of that, we're giving you krill oil that's the most bioavailable, potent form of omega-3 on the planet, and it's the most sustainable for us to harvest and continue to provide for people, that is the base of everything. That is the base of your everyday health and wellness. Take away the bad, give yourself the good. It starts with a complete multi with omega-3. Now, once again, I'm going to take a break in case you have a question before I move on to the other formulations.
No, keep going. I'm learning. I'm actually taking notes as you're talking.
Okay, fantastic. So now let's talk about energy. Energy is such a fun one for me because everybody wakes up saying, "Ooh, I need more energy. I'm exhausted. I need more energy." Really, this is what energy, the reason you lack energy is this. Adrenal fatigue is a huge one. Lack of B12, lack of some other ingredients in the body absolutely can cause a lack of energy, but adrenal fatigue is the number one thing. And let me tell you about adrenal fatigue. And I had this taught to me many, many years ago. When we were all cavemen, our adrenals were designed in our body to save us from two things: being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and lack of food, right? Because if we weren't hunting, we were being hunted, right? So we didn't have plentiful sources of food. You couldn't go down to your local grocery store, and there was a lot of dangerous things preying on us. So the adrenals were designed to kick in only during very specific short bursts or short periods of time. We're being chased. Something's trying to get us. We're caught in a trap. We need to get out. The adrenals kick in. It gives us that burst of energy, and we can get away from the saber-toothed tiger, or we can get out of that trap. Or we're without food, and our blood sugar is low, and we're not feeling good, and we need that energy to keep moving forward. Our adrenals were designed to kick in for a short period of time to help lift that blood sugar up, to help support us till we could get to the next meal, till we could find the next, bush full of berries or stab that next fish. But here's what's going on today. Our bodies cannot tell the difference between the stress that we're dealing with in our everyday life, the stress that we all take on with our homes and our cars and our families and our jobs and our businesses that we're launching, and we're moving across from one town to the next, from one state to the next, the relationships that we're dealing with, all the stress in our life, to our adrenals, it's just like the saber-toothed tiger chasing us. It's just like the no food, right? And that's why our bodies hold on to excess fat. That's why our bodies become fatigued, because the adrenals were not designed to be going 24/7. The adrenals were designed for just short bursts of need. And yet, we've got them going 24/7 due to all the stress. We don't get out in nature anymore. We don't breathe. We're not grateful. All these things that would give our adrenals a break, but we don't do those things. We stress and we work and we go and we run, and we're always on fire. We're always running from the saber-toothed tiger. It never, ever ends. And our adrenals finally get to the point where they're like, dude, I can't do this anymore. And you're so exhausted at night and you struggle to get to sleep, or you're like most people, you don't struggle to get to sleep, you can fall asleep, but once you're asleep for about 3 hours, all of a sudden you wake back up and your brain kicks back in and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm awake, what's going on? Your mind kicks in and it starts running. It's because your adrenals thought that you were being chased by the saber-toothed tiger, and instead of continuing to run, you laid down. You decided to take a nap. And all of a sudden you wake up and the adrenals go, get up, get up, get up. We're still being chased. We got to go, we got to go, we got to go. And your brain kicks back in and you can't get back to sleep. So when we created the formulation for the energy product, we said, what is one of the best things we can do for the human body? Well, one of the best things we can do for the human body is support the adrenals, to give the adrenals everything that it needs so it's not fatigued, all the ingredients necessary to support it and help it do what it needs to do, even if it's got a new role now in our life. The other thing that our energy product does is provide a lot of mental clarity and focus. And remember, this is time released. So this isn't some crazy 5-hour energy or Red Bull, which I hope nobody on this call listening would ever consume either one of those products. But nonetheless, this is not something that shoots you through the roof and then you come crashing back down. This is slow and methodical, time released. It does have a little caffeine in it, but it comes from green tea, so it doesn't have the same effect on the body. It provides mental clarity and focus. This product has actually been very beneficial. The feedback that I've gotten has been very beneficial to helping people either minimize or stop their Adderall. It helps kids with ADD and ADHD. We've seen profound effects with people that just struggle with brain fog. Not that the complete multi with omega-3 can't do that, because, boy, it can help tremendously as well. But this energy product really helps with mental clarity and focus. It helps with circulation. It helps with recovery times if you're an athlete or if you work out or if you're recovering from something. And it definitely supports those adrenals. So your body can do what it needs to do naturally. And I should back up, Heidi, and tell you that every time we've created a formulation together, the number one base goal is to say, how can we help your body do what it needs to do naturally? So that over time, maybe you need a little less. Now, we're not worried about this because, I know you, Heidi, and I know you've got, 50 other formulations that you're ready to bring to the table. But we want you to be able to have your body in a place where it can do what it needs to do naturally. And that's what each one of these formulations is designed to do. We don't want to get you hooked on our product, and the only way that you can get what you need is to continue, to come back to it. We want to help your body do what it does naturally and support it naturally so you can go on and move on to healthier states. Maybe a year from now, you can drop down to a half a patch. Maybe you can't. We've had some people that start out with 2 and then were able after a certain amount of time to drop back to 1 patch. So that's the goal of each formulation.
I love that, because one of the things that's obviously we're going to be needing supplementation our whole lives, because we just, as you mentioned, we live in an over-processed world. We live everything's genetically modified. Our soils are depleted of everything good that we really need in our bodies. Our gut health is a mess. But one of the things I love about the design of our patches is that, like you mentioned, you can do 1, you can do 1.5, you can do a half, you can do 1.25. You can put, like I put 1/8 of a patch on my 5-month-old grandson. And it's all about making your body work optimally. And one of the things I remember when you and I first started talking, and one of the things you said that made me go, okay, this lady knows her stuff, obviously besides everything that you say about the patches, but is that our bodies they have a natural pharmacy within them, if you want to put it in those terms, that it should be able to tap into to heal itself from whatever it is that's going on. And the problem is that as we have become such a faster paced society, and like you say, with adrenal fatigue and everything else, our bodies are just not getting what they need. And so they're either overcompensating for a situation that, like running from the saber-toothed tiger, even though we don't do that kind of thing anymore. But one of the things I love about the CBD patch in particular, and if you could chat about that for just a minute, the CBD patch helps with so many things, but one of the biggest things is just having, I think you mentioned about how we have so much stress and anxiety and that type of thing in our environment nowadays, especially with what's going on. Will you talk a minute about the CBD and kind of how that kind of blankets that whole thing?
Absolutely. And, you said something that's so profound, Heidi, and I wanted to digress just a tiny bit and say, the multivitamin for me is my energy patch. The complete multi with omega-3. That's my energy patch. For a lot of people, they use both, and then maybe more on top of that. But one of the things that I found with all the groups that I'm dealing with is, look, people know they need to eat healthy. They know they shouldn't drive through the drive-through. They know they need to get up and move. And you're right, the internal pharmacy within us can make the perfect medication for our bodies every single time. Every single time, the perfect medication. But it needs circulation. It needs movement. Movement is life. And what I found with most people is when they come home at the end of the day, they're so tired, they're so exhausted, they're so stressed that walking down to the end of the driveway and going to the mailbox is a chore. They want to sit down, lay down, and just rest because they're exhausted. And what I found with these patches is that these patches give people that extra oomph, so at the end of the day, they can go for a walk. At the end of the day, they don't mind making dinner instead of driving through the drive-through. And that's critical to taking the steps our body needs to open up that internal pharmacy and to get us where we need to be, right? And you're right, the CBD is critical. Normally I always talk about sleep right after the energy patch because the two of them together is like a killer combo. But I think the CBD is such a profound ingredient, such a profound effect on the body. I want everybody to think of CBD as a ballast. Now, if you don't know what a ballast is a mechanism in the bottom of every ship, every boat that's ever been. And it helps to keep it balanced. It helps to keep that boat in a place of homeostasis, you know. And my other business partners pick on me and say, nobody knows what homeostasis means, Crystalline. Come on, don't use that word anymore. Well, I want you to know what homeostasis is because homeostasis means living in a state of balance. Now, we have this amazing system of receptors through our entire body. Our endocannabinoid system. All these, it's the largest one in our whole body, system of receptors. It's like all these tiny little walkie-talkies, right, that can talk to one another. Think of you and your family spread out across, an entire state, and the only way that you could talk to one another to let each other know what was going on was through your little walkie-talkies, through your system of receptors. It's very easy if that system of receptors is in place and they're all on high alert and all the walkie-talkies are turned on and everybody's on the same channel for them to get the information to one another that they need. And that is why people don't really truly understand CBD. Because what CBD does is it turns on that endocannabinoid system. It turns all the walkie-talkies on. It puts them all on the same channel. And it says, okay, tell me what's going on. Do we have stress? We can fix that. We're going to send some extra, neurotransmitter support up there, and we're going to take care of the stress or the anxiety. Oh, do you need to sleep? Great. We're going to talk to the system within the body that creates all the natural ingredients that help us to sleep, and we're going to turn that on. Wait a minute, is there some pain? Well, we can fix that too. As long as that endocannabinoid system is communicating, your body can create a sense of balance. And that is exactly what the CBD does. The CBD is like the battery chargers that goes in and charges up all those little walkie-talkies, turns them all on, and puts them all on the same channel. So your body knows what it needs, where it needs it, when. So you might have a painful knee. I might have some stress going on. Somebody else might need to sleep and not have enough melatonin production. That's okay because CBD is going to work for each one of us because it's going to help the body do what it does naturally, which is balance itself. Our bodies are amazing. It's the most technologically advanced thing that ever was or ever will be. And it can do unbelievable, incomprehensible things if given the right ingredients. And that is exactly what CBD does. It turns on that endocannabinoid system, and it helps the body's receptors speak to one another and do what it needs to do. So is there something else that you wanted to add regarding CBD, Heidi?
No, gosh, you know what? That product has become one of my very favorites, especially with my family, we've got some family members, my kids, my husband, actually ADD, ADHD type of things, focus issues, but also the stress and anxiety that comes along with that. And one thing that I find with people that have those kinds of issues is they're very smart, they're very bright, they have issues with focus, and that calmness that needs to happen to have that focus. And I just feel like these patches, the magical combinations of the CBD, the complete with the omegas in it, the energy, like my whole family wears them all, obviously, and I've seen such a huge difference in every single one of them, but differently. Like they're all different human beings. We're all different. We all need different things, but it just seems like it just goes in and it finds whatever it is that needs to happen in your body, and it does that. And that is what, gosh, I mean, on a daily basis just blows me away.
Absolutely. I have stopped panic attacks literally in minutes on an airplane. I have had 87-year-old woman come up to me and say, you know, honey, the favorite thing about that CBD patch is, well, my gosh, it just makes me not want to kill everybody every day. And I just laughed. I said, well, that's good, Mimi. That's good.
That's a good thing.
I've literally stopped panic attacks in midstream on an airplane before. The gal was sitting right behind myself and my two business partners, and I could hear her struggling, and I said, just put one of these on, and in the next 10 minutes, you're going to be fine. I told her 10 to 15. She was young, in good shape. You know, her metabolism kicked in, and probably within 5 to 6 minutes, I felt this tap on my shoulder, and she said, can you please tell me what that was, because I have never had anything affect me like that. I have one of my best friends from high school that has MS, unfortunately, and she had tried every other form of CBD. And let me just make this clear to anybody listening. You may be taking some other form of CBD. It is not the same as this. First of all, there is 0 THC in ours, 0, and we have a C of A to prove it. And there is nothing that is going to affect the system. There is no other CBD out there that is going to affect the system like this. My friend that with MS, she tried every other CBD on the market. She tried every other form, I should say, liquids, tinctures, capsules, the balms. Everything either upset her or made her sick, or she had a very negative reaction to it. So much to the point where I didn't even think she was going to actually try a patch. Now, I use a half of a CBD patch, a half of one of ours, because the CBD that we have is, a potency of 50 milligrams on each patch. So it's not any of this question mark in a tincture, how many drops am I getting, what does it taste like? There's not any question about how much balm am I putting on. It's the potency of 50 milligrams. So if I cut that in half, I have 25 milligrams. If I cut that in quarters, I have 12.5 milligrams. Okay, so let's be clear about that. It is very easy to measure. There is no taste involved. I don't have to take multiple doses because it's time released, and it goes directly into the bloodstream. So I got her to try just a half of a CBD patch. Profound difference to her. So there are so many benefits. And guess what? If it wouldn't have worked well for her, Heidi, guess what she could have done?
Taken it off.
Taken it off.
Peel it off. One thing that's happened with Ken, my husband Ken, he has super high body heat, super high metabolism, and super high stress. He's got not only, like I mentioned, the first responder part of it, we're the epicenter for the coronavirus, but he's got a very, very ill mother, and he's the main caregiver. And he's stressed anyways. He's just a normally stressed human being. That's just his personality. And so he uses 2 a day. He does one in the morning, and he does one about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's his magic number. Now, there's been days he's done 2 at once, and, really high-stress days, and he feels great. But everybody's different, and this is one of the things that I've said to people. They'll put it on, and they'll say, well, they didn't feel anything. Well, number one, what do you expect to feel? So there's an expectation first. You have to find out from that person. But the other thing is some people need more. Some people need 1.5 patches, a 1.25, or some people need less. You have to find your magic number like you were mentioning. But I will tell you, during levels of times of high stress like Ken's doing right now, and because he does have higher metabolism, that is his magic number. I personally use one in the morning, and I'm good to go till the next morning, and I put another one on the next morning. So for everyone, it's different.
Oh, absolutely. I have one business partner that when I first met him, he was in the midst of a really, really stressful divorce, teenage son, all kinds of things going on in his life, and very high strung anyway. We started out with 3 on him. And I'm not joking, 3 at once.
Yeah.
So 50 milligrams each, 150 milligrams. Now listen, the same thing holds true as if you're dealing with a debilitating pain, a debilitating illness, 50 milligrams is not going to cut it. You have to, first of all, assess what is my need. I have a little stress, so a half of a patch for me is fine. Now, I just recently moved, and I moved very short notice. And it was a last-minute finding out about everything. And I will tell you that even for me, and I'm a very small person and very sensitive, there's been a few days in the last week and a half, Heidi, that I put an entire patch on. No questions asked. So it depends on what your need is, where you are. Now, what we found with my one business partner that we started out with 3, well, he called me one day and he said, Crystal, I'm just tired. I just find myself feeling really exhausted. And I had to move down to 2, take 1 off, just move down to 2. And then eventually we got him down to 1. And now, now he knows his sweet spot. He knows if it's going to be extra stress, then maybe he does more, like your husband Ken. But on a daily basis, he's good with 1 and a combination. And what I always tell people is you are going to find your sweet spot. If you deal any time at all with these patches, you're going to find your sweet spot. And over time, that is going to change. There for a long time, I was using 2 whole patches of 2 different formulations and a half of a CBD. I did that for a very long time. I eat very healthy. I take care of myself, and I'm very mindful and thoughtful. So I was able then to drop down to, cutting even the other formulations in half some days. Not every day, some days. I found this to be true with the sleep product. And I want to talk about the sleep product because this is a perfect example. Sleep is an ever-moving target for a lot of people. It's not ever just one same thing. And so when we designed the sleep formulation, we designed it with a few different things in mind. First of all, we did not put any melatonin in our sleep formulation because your body makes its own natural melatonin that is perfect for you. You don't want to take some melatonin off the shelf. That's not perfect for you. Melatonin is a hormone that your body can generate on its own. So we want to give it the hormone that it needs. But once again, if you become deficient in specific vitamins and minerals, then it's just like the chocolate chip cookie scenario. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able to make it with 3 of the ingredients missing. So what we did was we put all the precursors necessary for the body, given it the recipe that it needs so it can create its own natural melatonin. The other things that we did was put some magnesium in there, right? We want to relax the muscles. Everybody gets real tense. And we put some ingredients in there, some all-natural herbs that can help support the neurotransmitters and actually elevate your mood, actually diminish anxiety, and maybe even, diminish a little sadness or stress or depression. That's not the main focus, but when you help the neurotransmitters and you help to balance the body, all of those things improve. So the feedback that I've gotten on the sleep product, and it's one of the top sellers, most people struggle to sleep, and I always tell people, maybe your combination is the complete with omega-3 and the energy during the day, and the sleep and the CBD at night. For some people that's the magical combo. Some people use the CBD during the day. But what we found with the sleep is that it's not like one of these things that knocks you out, right? So it will help relax you. It will help kind of wind you down, but it's not going to knock you out. This isn't an Ambien, right? So we're going to help relax you. We're going to help calm you down. We're going to help get you into an optimal state. There's other things that you can do. but the patch definitely helps. But because it's time released, what we find with most people is that about 3 hours into their sleep pattern is when they will usually wake up. But because the second reservoir is opening up around that same period of time, the reports we've gotten are, wow, I can get up, I can use the restroom even, come back to bed, and before I would be awake for hours and hours, now I can just drift right back down into sleep without any issues. And then I can wake up the next morning and not feel groggy, not feel hungover, not have that headache, right? So that is really positive. When we first started trying the sleep formulation on one of my business partner's wife, who was struggling to sleep, and she's not very big of a person, but she needed 2 or 3. I mean, she really needed a heavy dose. But over time, she was able to minimize that and take that down. And now, she does 1, and sometimes she doesn't even need 1 at night, but most nights she just does 1. So it's really about finding, once again, your sweet spot. I have another person that does the sleep and the CBD at night instead of wearing the CBD during the day. I think, once again, it's all about finding your sweet spot. But this patch, the sleep patch, is just another example of how we really try to do things, and we really try to create formulations that are going to help your body support itself to do what it does naturally. So you can start creating your own natural melatonin. Your neurotransmitters are naturally lifted and feeling better, especially if you combine with the omega-3 during the day. And what we have found is that the energy and the sleep, if you'll wear the energy during the day and the sleep at night, killer combo. I always, of course, add in the complete with the omega-3, but killer combo for people because 1, now we're supporting their adrenals, and then 2, we're helping them sleep better at night and helping them make their own natural melatonin, helping to support the neurotransmitters, giving the body that magnesium to help relax the muscles. It's really just a phenomenal combo. And I think one of my most proud moments is when I got a message from a gal who had adopted 2 babies that had been drug-addicted babies. Their mothers were drug addicts. The babies were exposed to drugs in utero through the entire 9 months. And they were adopted as infants by this woman and her husband. The 2 girls had never slept their entire life. And when they did sleep for brief moments, it was nightmares, night terrors, always waking up, just really consumed their life. Now they were young teenagers, and they started using this combination on them. And the message that I received was of the deepest and sincerest gratitude because these girls were now sleeping through the night for the first time with no nightmares, no night terrors, no interruptions, a solid night's sleep. Well, of course, I told this person, add in some CBD and the complete with omega, and you'll be even more blown away by the results. But you can't imagine how proud that made me feel. And I know you're getting those same kind of reports about how effective it is, and yet you don't feel groggy, you don't feel hungover, you don't feel like a headache or heavy the next day. So any thoughts on that one, Heidi?
Gosh, no. They're all my favorite. I keep saying that one's my favorite, that one's my favorite. But sleeping is such a big deal, and people don't realize it until they don't, and how important it is. And I just absolutely love that one.
I mean,
okay, did we do all 5?
I think we got the immune. We did the complete with omega-3. We did the energy. We did the CBD. We did the sleep.
We did. So that leads me to, I kind of said that on purpose. We have unlimited potential with these patches, don't we?
Oh, my gosh. There's nothing we can't put on there, really. Only one thing, and I've told you that a million times, a phenomenal probiotic, but, who knows? Stay tuned. But we can do anything with these patches, and it's a very exciting position to be in. It's wonderful when people don't have to swallow all these things, and they get the time-released effect, and they're getting more absorption, and they can feel the results, and you're just affecting so much positive change. So it's never ending. The list is never ending. You let me know what you want, and we're going to make it for you.
Well, I've already kind of teased everyone and told them the four of us are already working on a couple more, so we're super excited about that. And I have to say this before I ask you the very last question. It has been such an incredible honor, pleasure, extreme excitement. You and I were talking earlier today. You were using the word giddiness about what we get to do together, being on the forefront of nutrition like this, redefining how people put nutrition in their body. For 22 years, this is, like I said, I've been a product nerd because supplementation has truly changed my family's life. And I just love helping other people change theirs. So not only with the patches, but also with the unlimited potential of future patches than the 5 that we already have started with. I'm just so excited. Like, there's no words. I'm just so excited about what's to come. So my last question. Okay, so Kristen, I have another question for you. Is there any other products on the market like our patches?
You know, that's a loaded question. I mean, there are other, I guess you call them patches out there, and that was one of the first things that I did when I was exposed to these patches, and before I began working specifically with this manufacturer, I went out there and I scoured the market. I ordered every other patch that I could find. It didn't matter if it was an MLM company, if it was an individual, if it was another manufacturer. I ordered them because I wanted to see, you know, what's what, where, and who's doing what. And at the time, I had a whole team of nurses and some practitioners that I was working with, and I just passed them out. And I said, okay, let's just try these. I just want everybody's 100% honest feedback. Tell me how you feel, how they work. Tell me what you think. And boy, they told me what they thought. First of all, if you haven't seen one of our patches, it is very, very thin, thinner than a Band-Aid, and it stays on your skin very well. Once you put it on, you don't even know it's there, but they're also very easy to get off once you decide to peel it off, but it doesn't come off easily, just if you're, you know, exercising or moving around. Some of the patches that we found on the marketplace were big and thick. You know, were thick, and you would get them caught on your clothes. They would peel up. If you would move, you could feel it pulling and tugging. Some of the patches would literally remove a layer of skin when you pulled them off. Some of them were more of a marketing ploy, I think, than they were actually a real product designed with a therapeutic dose to help anybody. There were several companies that I said, hey, I want to see your fact panel. I'd like to know what ingredients are in here and, you know, how many vitamins, you know, how much of this, how many milligrams. Oh, no. They wouldn't tell you any of that. They'd say, well, this is our proprietary formulation. Okay, but I still need to know how much is in there. Oh, no. We're not going to tell you. Well, here's what I found. The bottom line was pixie dust sprinkling is what we call it in the industry. In the nutraceutical industry, if you put the tiniest amount of a product in there and it really has no profound effect on the body whatsoever, that's a pixie dust sprinkling. Every other patch manufacturer or company that I found could not get even a fraction of the all-natural active ingredient onto the patch that we can. The patch design is terrible. It might be pretty on the outside, but it's thick and heavy and peels up, either takes the skin off or your shirt will get caught on it. There really is no comparison that I have found anywhere in the marketplace today with our patch. And so really be mindful of that and keep that in mind if you think that there's some other product out there that compares with this, because not that I've found, and I've done an extensive amount of research. So hopefully that answers that question for everybody.
It absolutely does, and it's something that, you know, in being in the industry for 22 years, a lot of people want to compare other products, and what I always tell them is the proof is in the results, and when you put these patches on and you feel the results, there is your answer. But thank you so much for clarifying that. I appreciate you, and And I tried to cover all the questions I've been getting, and I know there's going to be a lot more times that I'm going to get you on the phone. We're going to do this kind of recording. At some point, probably at our first event, we'll get you on stage and have everyone meet you and get to hear from you and just, soak in all of the knowledge you have. I want to chat with you just for a second about the exclusivity of what Innovative Nutrition has with these patches. If you could just touch on that, that is a question that comes up quite often.
Well, absolutely. The patches are, like you said, redefining the way people use supplementation every day and how it can affect, their health and wellness. I point out all the time all of the drip doctors and the IV bars that are popping up now where people are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars in it and an hour of their time to go sit inside these places and get these IVs. And I just kind of laugh and say, wow, we can do that same thing for a fraction of the cost, and it takes you 2 seconds to, peel and stick a patch. So that's the way that nutrition is going across the board. I don't want to sit for an hour with an IV in my arm. So for me, and I believe for the masses, the patches are it. But that is just one example of how, that is the future of supplementation. It's going to have to be because of the poor absorption within our guts and the things that the chemicals have done. So the exclusivity that Innovative Nutrition has is a big, big deal. It's a big deal, and it was a big doing on both of our parts to say, who do we want to work with? Who do we trust? We're taking this segment of the marketplace, which in my opinion is the best segment for selling this kind of product because it is new, it is innovative, and it does need a little bit of education. And so there is no better way to educate people than through an MLM platform, because you're talking to people that you know and you trust, that have tried the products themselves, that believe in them already. But the exclusive contract that Innovative has been able to secure because of all of you and Ken and Dave and Barb, you guys and your experience and your knowledge and your success in the industry is really what made us say, okay, we're hitching our wagon when it comes to the MLM world. We're hitching our wagon to your horse, and we're running with you guys only. So there is not going to be any other MLM group that is going to be selling this product. There is not going to be another MLM group that has the opportunity. It would be under, no circumstance that we can foresee that would ever happen. So you guys really have the opportunity, and I don't want to say, the profound responsibility to get these patches out there and to get them on as many people as humanly possible. You guys are the group that we wanted to work with, and we believed in the most when it comes to that. So, I know that the launch is going well. We're super excited on our end. We know you guys are passionate about this just as we are, and that you have the same goal, which is to, put a patch on every single shoulder out there and help people to feel better. Help people to know that there is something that they can use on a daily basis that can really make a profound change to how they feel and, how they wake up and live their everyday life. And that's with you guys exclusively. So hopefully that answers the question.
It absolutely does, and I cannot thank you enough. I want to, for just a minute, talk to all the promoters that are listening to this right now. You guys, she just mentioned a profound responsibility. And I have to say I agree with that. I agree that we have the profound responsibility to tell people what we have our hands on. And the fact that we were able to secure this exclusivity with this manufacturer and this amazing lady that we get a chance to learn from, that we get a chance to really redefine how nutrition is delivered to our bodies. We get to be in the forefront of this marketplace of the MLM world. You guys, it's so huge. It's when Barb and Dave and Ken and I sat at that table with our partner, and actually she was on the phone with us, and we got a chance to meet her and talk to her, and I later got a chance to meet her in person. You guys, we were just blown away. and I've been in the industry for 22 years. Barb and Dave have been in the industry for 24 years. We know a lot, but we are learning a lot. And I am so grateful to you, Chrislyn, for sharing this time with us and taking this time with us. We so appreciate it. And you guys, our team, which includes Chrislyn, our team is got so many plans for our future. And I wanted to do this with her so that you guys could hear straight from her exactly what an opportunity that we all have to not only affect and change and improve the health of our own families and the people that we love in our lives, but a ripple effect on the entire world, literally. We were talking this morning about international growth. I mean, the sky's the limit, and we have our hands on that. So please share this recording with all of your downlines. Make sure that everyone, I would actually include kind of a check back in with you that they've actually listened to this. This is information that everyone needs to know, and the fact that Chrislyn took this time with us is I'm so grateful. So thank you for that, Chrislyn. And again, we will be getting her on future calls and on future recordings, and definitely when we have our first event, we will make sure that she will be there with us on stage. So thank you, Chrislyn, again. I appreciate you more than words, and I'm sure this is just going to be the first of many. So thank you all for listening, and keep listening until this is all like embedded in your brain, and get back with us if you guys have any questions at all. So thank you so much, Chrislyn. Have a fabulous day.
Thanks, Heidi. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.